Although inflation and interest rate hikes continue to dog people in the United States and Canada, the US dollar remains strong. But it's a different story for its Canadian counterpart. The Canadian dollar has weakened to its lowest level in over 2 years against the US dollar. Today's consumer price report in the US indicates that the country's central bank will keep raising interest rates aggressively. And this is worrying investors that the aggressive tightening could lead to a recession and add even more pressure on the loonie. Meanwhile, these rate hikes by the Federal Reserve will likely only bolster the US dollar. Well, joining us now to help us make sense of it all is Brendan Caldwell, director of Caldwell Securities Ltd. Brendan, welcome back.
Thank you, Nima.
Now, the US dollar is commonly called the king dollar, Brendan, and it's quite the fitting name these days. So why is the US dollar so strong?
Well, I don't know how if it's always been king, but the U.S. Federal Reserve has been very aggressive in raising interest rates, and more aggressive than Canada, more aggressive than other countries around the world. The idea in classical economic theory is if you raise interest rates as a central bank, by which I mean, in the case of the US, the Fed funds rate, or the rate at which the central bank, the government-run bank, lends to all the other banks, all the commercial banks, the ones you've heard of, like Bank of America or Citigroup or these. So as they raise that rate, all the other interest rates, particularly short-term rates, go up in concert. And they're trying to raise rates, again, according to classical economic theory, to slow down the economy, to make it more difficult for people to access money and borrow for either expenditures or investments. They're just trying to slow the economy down. And if you raise your rates as a country faster than the other guy raises his rates, people are going to want to buy your currency because they can get more on their money in a bank account or a treasury bill or other short-term deposit in your country's denomination. So higher rates tends to lead to a much stronger currency, and the US being the most aggressive in the world, as well as being the, you say, king dollar, it's the world reserve currency. So it has that going for it as well. So everybody is around the world is scrambling to buy US dollars at the expense of the loonie and other currencies.
Now, at the same time, we know many commodities are priced in US dollars. So how does that affect people or the countries that need to buy these commodities, Brendan?
Oh, well, yeah. So other countries kind of get a double whammy. So here in Canada, we're talking 7-8% inflation. The US, something similar, because our dollar has declined, but only a little bit. I mean, a few cents relative to the US dollar. I mean, big in currency terms, but not in global terms. But if you're, say, in Turkey, where the official inflation rate is north of 80%, and the unofficial rate's probably like 180%, and people don't make more than $10,000 a year on average, when the price of these global commodities like energy go up, I mean, in basic stuff to make things like copper or anything that's denominated in US dollars, as the price of the US dollar goes up against your currency, the price of everything else that uses energy or food or other raw materials goes up even more. So it exacerbates the inflation issue that other countries are experiencing. So it's maybe a way to slow down the US economy and keep inflation in the US under control. It's actually perhaps making it worse, particularly in developing countries.
Now, in terms of developed countries, we know the UK is in a similar situation with the pound fluctuating against the US dollar, and the UK is trying to tackle this issue. So can you tell us a little bit more about their plan?
Well, I don't know if they have a plan so much as a series of reactions. You didn't think they'd miss their Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, quite so quickly, because by the time he was gone, everybody wanted him to be gone. But the new Prime Minister there had a plan to subsidize energy costs for the average Briton. Well, that was going to cost some vast billions and billions. It sounded like Carl Sagan, billions and billions of pounds. And so the worldwide investors in bonds and currencies said, oh, the British are going to have to raise billions and billions in new financing. So they hit the pound very hard. UK interest rates have gone up considerably. It doesn't seem to be a situation where they have so much as a plan as a series of reactions, and the British government has reversed itself at least once or twice just in the past week or so. So not just developing countries, but developed countries like the United Kingdom they've had a pretty tough month with one thing and another.
Always lots to keep our eyes out for. Brendan Caldwell, again, thank you so much for joining us today on Forum Daily.
Thank you, Nima.